Hello and welcome to the world of Nail Alliance. This is Marie, the educator with your new school. Today's webinar is going to be on the Gelish Express dip system. So let's jump right into it. Our mission statement here at Nail Alliance is to provide the salon industry with all the tools needed to help make salon businesses even more successful with the latest and greatest in nail products, establish opportunity for learning through proper education and training courses domestically and internationally, create superiority within the industry as the go-to nail manufacturer for state-of-the-art products proven to perform to the best of standards while upholding the motto, done right from the start, and to understand the needs of the salon industry. As nail professionals ourselves, we have a clear understanding of the industry and the demand for the highest quality products and services possible, which is why quality has and will always be our number one priority. So who is Nail Alliance? We are the Gelish Soak-Off Gel Polishes, Gelish Hard Gels, Morgan Taylor Nail Polish, Bare Luxury Manicure Pedicure Products, Nail Harmony, Prohesion, and more. So again, today's focus is on the Gelish Express dip, and we're going to dip our way to gorgeous nails with no fuss and no mess. We are going to talk about the difference between the original dip powder versus the new Express dip powder in today's webinar. But first, we're going to go through our basics kit, which are the products that you need to perform your dip application. So the first one is the green cap bottle, and this is your nail dehydrator. It's used to remove any excess oil and moisture from the nail plate. It restores the pH balance of the nail before your dip application. There's no fragrance or dye in the product, so it's not going to leave any residue on the nail plate that may interfere with adhesion. Each bottle will give you about 300 applications. And again, we use this before we dip to create that perfect adhesion and longevity. Next is the blue cap or the darker blue cap bottle. This is your base coat. It has optimal viscosity to ensure a fast drying time as well as full absorption of your dipping powder. It's a brush-on application for precision and minimal wastage. There's an air seal wiper in the neck of the bottle that will help prevent premature thickening of the product. It also contains vitamins A, E, as well as calcium, and this is to help protect the natural nail during wear. Each bottle will give you about 40 to 50 full set applications. Now, the base coat is a cyanoacrylate adhesive, which is less sensitizing compared to acrylate or methacrylate salon products. So this makes for the dip system a possible option for people who are unable to wear other types of enhancement. So being that it is cyanoacrylate, that's also one of the main ingredients in nail glue or nail resins. So you want to make sure that you don't get that onto the skin. Next is the red cap bottle. This is your top coat. This also has optimal viscosity. It does have a slightly slower drying time, which helps give extra strength and support to your finished application, as well as perfect clarity and strength and high shine. It's also a brush-on application for precision and minimal wastage. There's also an air seal wiper in the neck of the bottle, just like the base coat, to help prevent premature thickening of the product. Each bottle will give you about 130 to 140 full set applications. This is also a cyanoacrylate adhesive product. It also contains vitamins A, E, and calcium to help protect the natural nail. Next, we'll talk about the dipping powders. So the original dip powder, it's an acrylic dipping powder. It's an extra fine polymer to give perfect absorption into the base coat, minimizing graininess, cloudiness, and bubbles in your finished application. It is versatile. It can be used in several different ways within the dip system, but the original dip powder was also multi-system, meaning that you can use the Prohesion liquid monomer with the dip powder and use it as a reflections design. And reflections are the Prohesion colored acrylic. So you can use this as a colored acrylic application. But when you're using it for a traditional dipping application, it's going to add strength, support, and a color coating to the nail, giving a strong chip-free application for up to 14 days of wear. And then originally we had 120 core colors between creams, shimmers, metallics, and glitters. But every time a new collection is released, it's also released in the dip powder. So there are well over 120 colors. Now, if you can still get your hands on the dip powder, the original dip, or you still have it, don't get rid of it. Definitely still keep it so that you can use it with your monomer and do beautiful acrylic designs. The Xpress dip. The Xpress Color Fusion dip powder has Activator in it. The Activator is incorporated into the powder using our patent pending Color Fusion technology. This is for more even curing, especially if you're going to be building or doing extension nails. The whole nail reaches its full cure with no bald spots or uncured areas. The faster curing begins when the dipping powder hits the base coat and not at the end of the application like it was previously. So this controlled cure creates less heat because the final curing begins during the application. Less activator is needed at the end, helping to reduce the possibility of heat spikes. Now, me personally, I've never experienced heat spikes with dip powder, but I know some clients have. So this will help reduce that possibility. Faster application means no waiting between application steps because the curing starts immediately when you're dipping into the powder. Because of that activator, you don't have to wait a few seconds between dipping into your second application. So it's a faster dip. Also means there's no gummy brushes. It reduces the risk of the base coat brush hardening during the application. Each layer hardens quicker, meaning you can dust off each layer before the next, giving less chances of product transfer. So when powder is transferred to your brush, that's what causes your brushes to harden. So with the activator being built into the powder means you can dust off the nail prior to applying your second coat of base coat, which is less product transfer. It's also patent pending. We have biotin and calcium in the powder. So that also helps with keeping strength to the natural nail. And it's cost effective. They're now in larger size jars, which brings savings to your salon. I actually love the fact that they're in larger size jars because if you are doing nail extensions and you have those really nice long stilettos, with the larger jar, it's easier to dip. So each jar will give you about 75 full set applications, and you get to use the same liquid product. So you're still going to use the same base coat, top coat, and activator. So there's nothing extra. There's just extra activator in the dipping powder. So it just makes a faster, stronger cure. And then the activator, you still need to use activator. It's a brush on application. It provides a smooth finish. So there's no pitting, there's no heat. So for client comfort, it gives a cool, comfortable cure. Each bottle will give you about 50 full set applications. So the activator will help speed up the drying process. It increases the polymerization rate as well as reduce any possible discoloration or yellowing to a bare minimum. The activator also helps give flexibility to your finished coating, reducing any brittleness, and the top coat to achieve a nice glass-like finish. And brush restore. This is the final bottle. It's the light blue cap. This is your brush cleaner. It's solvent based for fast and easy removal of product buildup. Fast soaking time means there's no downtime during your appointment. So how to use the brush restore. If your base coat or top coat brush hardens during application, you're going to take the cap off of your brush restore bottle and replace it with the brush or cap that has the hardened product. Close the lid tightly and allow it to soak for about 5 to 10 minutes. Once the brush has softened, simply wipe it off on a lint-free wipe to remove any of the softened product and either re-soak it if it needs to, or if it's just to a point where it can't be reused, then you can swap it out with a different brush. When swiping your brushes, make sure you always wipe the brush coming from the brush restore bottle before putting it into its original bottle, because you don't want any cross-contamination of your product. And then also make sure that you are not soaking it for more than 5 to 10 minutes. If it's soaking any longer than that, it's going to start breaking down the bristles of your brush and melting the bristles. And then you'll need to replace the brush altogether. Also in the dip collection is our French container. This offers 2 smile lines to suit your every client's need. It can be used with Arctic Freeze, or you can put any of the dipping colors in there to do a colored French design. To use it, you want to fill your dipping container with your chosen dipping powder and just tap it so that it's level. You'll slide your finger into the jar to the predetermined angle and stop when you reach the correct smile line placement. And then continue by dipping into your chosen pink or clear dipping powder. Always make sure that you dip at the same point when you do your second dip so that you don't create any shadowing of your smile line, unless that's the look you want to go for. It actually does kind of look cool. I actually like that look, but for a traditional French, make sure you're dipping in the exact same point. Always tap and shake your French container and level the powder before you do another dip so that you get a consistent smile line. On to our techniques. So the first thing you want to do prior to performing a Xpress dip application is to do proper prep, which is a dry manicure. Make sure that you sanitize your hands, your client's hands, push back the eponychium and clean the surrounding nail plate of any excess cuticle. File and shape the natural nail. Gently remove the shine using your 180, the 180 side of your 180 grit buffer. And then remove the dust by cleansing the nail with nail surface cleanse and a lint-free wipe. Then you'll apply your dip prep. And now you're ready to begin. You're going to work one nail at a time. You're going to apply the base coat to 3/4 of the nail, avoiding the cuticle area, and then quickly dip into your chosen dipping powder. Tap off the excess immediately. You can also dust it off if your state allows that. Make sure you're also following state regulations regarding dipping. If you are not allowed to dip into your container, then you want to make sure that you're doing the pour method. And on camera, I'll show you both. And then once you tap off the excess, you'll repeat on the remaining nails. Then you'll go back to that first nail, and then you'll apply your base coat to the entire nail and re-dip into your dipping powder. We avoid the cuticle area in that first dip so that we don't create too much bulk near the cuticle area. Now, if you want your color to be a little more intense, or if you did miss a spot and you have a bald spot, you can do a third coat and apply that coat, your base coat, from cuticle to free edge and re-dip into your dipping powder and tap off the excess. But if you've gotten to great coverage on your first 2 dips, then you will apply Activator over the entire nail, and you're going to wait 20 seconds to allow the Activator to work. After the 20 seconds, you want to apply a thin coat of your base coat to seal the nail, and you'll allow that to dry. Once that's dry, you will buff the surface of the nail with your 180 grit buffer, also refine the nail groove and the free edge, remove the dust, and then apply your final coat of Activator to the entire nail. You're going to wait 20 seconds for the Activator to work, and then using a dry lint-free wipe with nothing on it, you want to wipe the nail and get any excess Activator off. You just don't want to have any Activator transferring to your top coat brush. So you're just going to wipe off that excess, and then you'll apply 2 thin coats of your top coat. And then you need to let the top coat dry for 5 minutes. And I can't stress that enough. Have them wait a full 5 minutes. It does take the 5. If they touch it to see if it's dry before the 5 minutes, they're going to end up getting fingerprints or smudging of the product, and then you'll have to go in and repair it. It's not that difficult to repair the top coat if it does happen. You don't even have to reapply the top coat. You just need to grab your 220-280 grit buffer and the Eco Shiner buffer or the high shine buffer, and just buff out that fingerprint or smudge mark, and then use the Eco Shiner to bring it back to a high shine finish. But if they wait the 5 minutes and not touch their fingers, you won't have any issues. Other applications that you can do with the dip, you can do strengthening applications. You can do a strengthening application on your color coding or a strengthening application for French. This would be for somebody who has really thin nails, or they're just looking for extra support. So strengthening application is just doing 2 additional coats of clear dipping powder, then do 2 coats of your chosen color. You can always do the traditional French application. You can also do extensions with your dip system with tips. You can do a 1 color natural nail or clear tip overlay. You can do French. You can use the French white tips and do a clear dip over it. So the possibilities are endless when it comes to gluing tips on. I will also show you a tip application on camera. If you've done a tip application, you can also do color maintenance or clear maintenance and treat it like a nail extension and just backfill it so you don't have to soak off the color. So if they're doing the same color when they come back in, or you did glue tips on previously and you don't want to soak off those tips, you can do a maintenance. So the first thing you want to do is just kind of check all the nails, make sure that nothing has broken off. If there was one that broke off, just soak that finger so that you can redo it. But on the rest of the nails, push back the epinicium and clean the surrounding nail plate of any excess cuticle. Using your 180 grit file, you want to reduce the bulk slightly, remove any surface staining, reduce the outgrowth point, reduce the length and reshape if that's something that they want. If there is any lifting, be sure to file behind that lifted area until it flakes away so that there's no line of demarcation. And then gently remove the surface shine from the natural nail with the 180 side of your 180 grit buffer. Cleanse the nail with nail surface cleanse and a lint-free wipe to get all the dust off. And then apply prep to the natural nail. If required, you can do a thin line of base coat where the new arc location will be situated, and then quickly dip into your dipping powder, tap off the excess. This is going to help you build your arc location if extra support is needed, especially if you did not reduce the length. And then you're going to repeat your dipping procedures as you would any other dipping procedure. Work 1 nail at a time, do 3/4 of the nail, dip into your chosen dipping powder or color, tap off the excess, repeat that on the remaining nails, then go back and do your second coat, this time doing cuticle to free edge, dipping into your dipping powder, tap off the excess, and then repeat. Apply your activator, wait 20 seconds, and then apply your final coat of base coat. Let that dry, buff the surface of the nail, file, shape, and contour if you need to. Dust off the dust, apply your final coat of activator, wait 20 seconds, remove the excess activator, and then apply 2 thin coats of your top coat. To remove your dip system. So it is an acrylic system. So you're going to remove it the same way you would remove an acrylic. You could either do the wrap it off method or the soak method. Either way, both of them, you want to make sure that you're reducing the bulk by about 70%. If you are doing the soak method, you're going to fill a solvent resistant bowl with your artificial nail remover and allow them to soak for about 15 to 20 minutes, using an orange wood stick to help push the product off of the nail. Once all the product has been removed, then you can buff the surface of the nail with your 220, 280 grit buffer and apply cuticle oil or proceed to whatever the next service they're asking for. I prefer the wrap it off method. And this is the same method as if you were removing gel polish. Using your 180 grit file, reduce the bulk by 70%, saturate the cotton portion of a wrap it off wrap, place the cotton portion with your artificial nail remover over the nail, secure the foil, and let them sit for 15 to 20 minutes. I like to sit for the full 20 minutes. If I did a strengthening application or a tip application, I'll sit for 20, maybe even 25 minutes, and then gently remove the product with an orange wood stick. I find if you sit closer to the 20 to 25 minute, you don't even need to use an orange wood stick. You just pinch the foil on their finger very lightly, and pull the foil off as you're pinching their finger, and it just pulls the product right off. There's minimal pushing that you need to do with a cuticle pusher or orange wood stick if you soak the longer 20 to 25 minutes. And then buff the surface of the nail with your 220-280 grit buffer and apply cuticle oil. If the product hasn't been removed fully after the 15 to 20 minutes, again, this is if you did strengthening application, let them soak a little longer. Don't try to pry the product off. You can lightly buff and leave a thin layer if your client is okay with that, but just don't pry off the product. Some additional information about Xpress dip. So the Xpress dip, you cannot use the Prohesion monomer for a reflections design like you can the original dip powder. Because there's Activator now in the dip powder, if you try to use your monomer and do a colored acrylic design with it, the Activator starts the polymerization rate very quickly and you won't be able to manipulate that bead. So it's not ideal for that. So do not use the Xpress powder with your monomer. However, if you still have some of the original dip powder, again, that's great, and use that with your monomer. The nice thing about the new Xpress dip is that you can use the Top It Off top coat from the gel product or the gel polish line. The previous dip powder, I've tried using the Top It Off top coat with it. It just does not adhere and it peels right off. With the Xpress dip, it seems to be holding on great. So you can use the Top It Off top coat with it instead of using the Gelish dip top coat if you want to go that route. The only thing that you need to do different is you don't want to apply that final coat of Activator. So after you've filed and shaped and buffed the surface of the nail, remove the dust, cleanse it with nail surface cleanse and a lint-free wipe, and don't apply Activator. Instead, you're going to apply the foundation base coat, and you're going to cure for 5 seconds in your 18G and then give it a dry brush. And then you can apply your Top It Off top coat, cure for 30 seconds in your 18G, and then cleanse the nail with nail surface cleanse and a lint-free wipe to remove the inhibition layer and finish with your nourishing oil. So that's a second option for finishing with the Xpress dip. So for more information on Nail Alliance products, you would contact the account executives at your new school. And then for future webinars, you would contact myself. So I'm going to go ahead and flip my camera on and we'll get to dipping. So I've already prepped one of the nails. I did glue a tip onto this finger. So we will do a tip application as well. We'll do a traditional dip application. We'll do the pour application in case you are from a state that doesn't allow for dipping into the actual dipping container. We'll give you that option to pour. And then maybe we'll do a marble design on this third nail. All right, so let's go through our products. So we have our prep, which is what we're going to use to remove any excess oil and dehydrate and prep the natural nail to a neutral pH prior to dipping. We then have our base coat and our activator and our top coat. Brush restorer, again, this is to clean your brush if you have any product buildup. So it's just a cap, and then you just swap out your brushes. I like to clean my brushes as I go along. If I notice any product transfer, I immediately clean it so that I don't get in the habit of having to soak my brushes later. If you end up, so you'll see like this cap, you probably can't see it on camera, but it got, oh, there we go. It fused itself to the bottle and I had to use some pliers but see how it gets really gummy? I mean, this bottle is really old. So it's super gummy. This is because of product transfer. So you just want to make sure that you're keeping your brushes clean so that you don't get the gummy brushes. Now with the new Xpress dip having the activator in it, it helps to prevent that from happening because you're getting less transfer of product because it's curing that much quicker. And you can dust off your nail prior to your next application. All right, so let's do, as I knock everything over. All right, we'll do the pour method and our dip. So what do we have? Don't Snowflake on Me and Bare and Toasty. So this is from the 2020 Shake Up the Magic Holiday Collection. So we are going to push back our cuticles to make sure that your hands are sanitized and your client's hands are sanitized. And since we're doing 3 nails, I'm going to prep all 3. And this one's already been prepped. File and shape the natural nail. Using your 100-180 grit buffer, gently buff the surface of the nail to remove the surface shine. Pop that back on. There we go. And using a lint-free wipe with nail surface cleanse. I buy surface cleanse in bulk and then I just transfer into these little spray bottles. It just makes for easier application. Let's get that dust off. And we'll apply our prep to all the nails. And then give your powders a good shake. Sometimes when they sit, they just get compact and it's kind of hard to push your finger into the powder. Excuse me. So give your powders a good shake. Especially I'm using this Don't Snowflake on Me, and this one's a glitter. It's got chunks of glitter in it. So I also like to make sure that I'm giving those a nice shake so that those glitter flecks are being distributed. And then the Bare and Toasty is just a nice creamy, it's actually what I'm wearing. It's just a nice neutral creamy color. So we'll do the traditional dip with the Bare and Toasty. We'll do the pour, now I'll do the pour method with that. We'll do the dip with the glitter. I find with glitter dipping, you get better adhesion or you get more glitter flecks than you do the pour method. So if you are somewhere that you're not allowed to dip, unfortunately, I feel glittery colors, you just get better, you get better adhesion or better coverage when you're dipping as opposed to pouring. But again, follow your state regulations. We need something for pouring. I like to use my cuticle pusher, my spoon pushers, or if you don't have one of these, but you do have tips, you can use tips, plastic to help pour. But we're going to use this. So let's do our dip first. And we'll do both. I'm going to get my powders ready. And I'm going to do a marble. We're going to marble with green and white. This one's called Mistress of Mayhem. This one was from the fall 2020 Disney collection. So we're going to get all of our powders ready. Get my caps out of the way. And we're going to work one nail at a time. We're going to do our dips and our pour method. Let's do dip first. Grab my base coat. And we're going to do one nail at a time, and we're going to do 3/4 of the nail. So 3/4 of the nail. Dip at about a 45-degree angle into your chosen dipping powder, tap off the excess. Now that's about all you need to do when you're tapping. If you are working and practicing on a nail trainer hand like I am, you're going to have to do a lot of tapping. And the reason behind that is because if you look at the underside of your nail trainer hand, there's a nice hole where the tip snaps into the finger, and that holds a lot of dipping powder. It kind of just congregates in there. So you just want to try to get as much of that dipping powder out as you can, because it does create a bit of a mess. Now, because there is activator in this powder, you can immediately just go in and dust it off and you won't get any transfer. Next, we'll do the pour method. So we're going to grab our base coat again. We're going to do 3/4 of the nail. And you always want to make sure you have your dipping powder ready, because you want to dip in or pour right when you've applied your base coat. So we're going to pour onto the surface of the nail. Tap off the excess. The nice thing about the pour method is you don't have to worry about product getting built up underneath the finger. And this one we'll do, get that fuzz off of there. You just want thin coats. You don't need a lot. You just want to make sure that you're not getting it onto the skin. Dip. Tap off the excess. And if you're using a nail trainer hand, really tap off the excess. Brush off any loose powder. And we can go back to our first nail. This time we're going to do the entire nail from cuticle to free edge. Tap off the excess and really tap off any product inside the nail. This one was our pour method. So we'll go and we'll pour. And I think we dipped this one. All right, now we will dust off any excess. Now for this green one, we are going to do a marbling design. So what I've done, and I like to, you can use the French dip container to do this, but I find that it is extremely wasteful to do that because it is very deep. So when you're dipping or filling and marbling, you're wasting a lot of powder. So I like to use an old cosmetic container or acrylic container. So like if you have like the smaller caps, I just have a small, this was the cap to nail art, little caviar beads, the little jars that the nail art stuff comes in. I saved the cap because it's nice and shallow, so I'm not using as much powder. So I filled with green, the Mistress of Mayhem. I poured a little bit of white, and then I used a dotting tool and I just kind of swirled it. So for this one, we're going to do a flip and dip to create our marble design. So we're going to do another thin coat of our base coat. Make sure the entire nail is covered. And then you're going to flip and then dip and create your marble design. And then what I like to do, did I not grab clear? I do have my clear. So I've got my clear. Dust off the excess. I don't really particularly like that design. I don't like where I dipped it. So we're going to do one more just so I can re-marble that. It doesn't look horrible, but it's not what I like. So we're going to do that one more time. And we're going to dip. Hopefully I dipped in a better spot. Yes, I do like that a little better. That looks more marbled. All right, so dust off the excess. I'm going to do a final coat, but this time I'm going to do clear. I'm going to pour a thin amount of clear so that I'm encapsulating it. So when I go and buff it, I'm not losing my design. Oh no. Oh wait, yeah, that is clear from in there. I thought that was white. I got a little nervous. Okay, so all of my dipping is done. So we've got our traditional dip application, we have our pour method, and then we have our marble with a clear overlay. Now we're going to apply Activator so that this can fully cure. So we're going to cure from within with the dipping powder, and we're going to cure on top. We're going to wait 20 seconds. So in those 20 seconds, I'm going to recap and put my powders away. So after the 20 seconds, we're going to then apply our final coat of base coat. When you're applying this final coat of base coat, you really want to make sure that you're doing light contact with the brush to the nail, because there's activator on the nail. Activator is what allows products to dry or cure. It's going to speed up the polymerization. Well, we don't want that on our brush. So you want to make sure that you're not pushing down on your brush and spreading out the bristles. You just want to make sure that you have a thin application and just glide that over the entire nail. Now, if you feel like you did push down too hard or you made too much contact with the nail, like here, I'm pushing down harder and I'm to really get it onto the nail. Let's say I didn't have enough on my brush. At this point, this is when I go in and I'll just grab my brush restorer just in case. And I just give it a quick swoosh. Get that off just in case. I'm just keeping it for maintenance. And then I'm just going to wipe and clean this brush with a lint-free wipe. Make sure I don't have anything on it and put it back into the original bottle. So we're going to allow this to dry. And then we can, which that's already dry. That one's dry. That one's dry. So they're dry. We can now begin our buffing. So I'm going to grab our buffer. Now with the glitter one, and I don't know if you can see it, probably not, but there is just ever so slightly raised you can just kind of see the glitter little flecks that are sticking straight up. So I do like to take my 180 grit file and just so ever so lightly, I just kind of smooth out and just smooth. I mean, and I'm talking gentle. I'm just gliding my file over the enhancement just to smooth out any glitter that's sticking straight up. And then I'll take my buffer and I buff the remaining nail to get it nice and smooth. This did not have any glitter, so I don't need to use the file. I can just use my buffer, nail groove, my marble design. Get that dust off, and I heard one of these just unsnap, so I don't know which there we go. Get that dust off. All right, so we will do regular application on these two, and then I'll do the top it off top coat option on this one. Okay, so for regular dip application, you're going to do a final coat of activator. We're going to wait 20 seconds. For the gel top coat option, you're not going to put the activator on. You're just going to go in with a very, 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 very thin coat of your foundation base coat. So we're just going to do a thin application. And we're going to give that a 5-second cure in our 18G while that sits. So we'll give that a 5-second cure. For the activator, we're going to take a clean, dry wipe, and we're just going to wipe any excess activator off of the nail. We want to get any excess off because we don't want any of that to transfer into our top coat. And then for the foundation nail, we're going to take our dry brush, clean dry brush, and just wipe the surface of the nail. For the marble design, we're going to do our top it off top coat and then give that a 30-second cure. I'm just going to cure that one really quick, and then we'll move on to the regular top coats. Well, I guess I could have just applied it. The light's not going to do anything to it. Oh. Let's set it for the right amount of time. And using a lint-free wipe with nail surface cleanse, we're just going to cleanse the nail, get the inhibition layer off. This nail is done. We'll get some of that green off of the nail itself or the skin. Okay, so the original final coat of activator, cleanse the activator or wipe with the clean lint-free wipe. Again, same concept. Don't push down too hard on your brush. Do a super thin, like this first one, you want barely any product on. Just do a real thin application. And then we're going to wait a couple of seconds between these coats. Typically by the time you do the 10th finger, the first finger is ready for its second coat. And you'll know, like, it starts looking wet to tacky, almost like streaky. Then you know it's drying up nicely and that you can get your second coat on there. So we'll do our second coat of top coat. Nice and thin. Now, I always get in the habit of just cleaning my brushes before when I'm done. It's just a habit that I've gotten myself into. So I'll immediately, since I already did my base coat, I'm going to do the top coat. And I just wipe that clean, swoosh it. I'm actually going to let that sit for a second. And well, I thought I had artificial nail remover in here. I guess I don't. Let me see if I can find some. Let me just wipe this really quick. What I like to do, okay, I have two spaces. I've got a salon space in my basement and then my office up here. So things tend to migrate from one space to the other. So I'm just going to grab regular acetone. I really don't like using regular acetone, but that's what's in my grasp, so that's what I'm going to use. All right, so I'm going to take some acetone on a lint-free wipe. And what I like to do to both my base coat bottle and my top coat bottle is I like to give it a cleanse, just the neck of the bottle. I do this after every service or at the end of my work day. If I've been doing dip, I clean the neck of the bottle. And then what I also like to do is take cuticle oil and put it on my finger, and I rub that on the neck of the bottle. This helps to make sure that my cap does not fuse itself to the bottle. I'm just going to rub my cuticle oil on the neck of that bottle and replace the cap. And then I know that my bottles are in great shape and I don't have to worry about them. All right, so let's move on to our tip application. When you're doing a tip application, after you have, and I got dust all over it, so we're going to have to redo this now. Let's get that dust off. And re-prep the nail. So we're going to apply our prep. So you've sized, glued your tips on, you've blended the tip into the natural nail, you have the length and size and whatever that your client is asking for. We're going to prep the nail. Now, the first thing we want to do is create strength and support, because now you've created an extension edge. So we want to make sure that we're putting the strength where it needs to be. And to do that on a client with a natural nail, if you just push down on the tip of their finger, you're going to see where the white of the nail starts to show. It'll, like, if you push down, you'll see white. And that's the stress area of their natural nail. That's where you want to first put your base coat to build structure. So we're going to just say that it is like right above where the seam of where I glued my tip and the natural nail is. So this area right here is going to be my stress area for this particular client, this example. So I'm going to grab my clear and we're going to build our strength first. And then we can do a color coating to the nail. Let's grab another color. What color should, let's just do a pink. Maybe we'll do French. We do French. Why not? Let's get our French container. Now, I'll be honest, French on the mannequin hand never turns out nice, only because you can't get the right dip in the French container, but we're gonna make it work. All right, so I'm gonna fill my French container with my Arctic Freeze, and we're gonna level that out. And put that off to the side, making sure this is my clear to build our strength, and then we'll do our pink and white. Okay, so let's grab our clear and our base coat. So the first thing we want to do is create that dress area support. So we are going to apply our base coat right, and I'm just doing a small amount right here. And I may just do a little on the seam. And dip into our powder. Now I'm going to extend just past where I just dipped further up onto the nail, like 3/4 of the nail, and I'm going to make this strip a little wider. I'm going to go in with my base coat, and I'm going to make this just a tad bit wider. Dip, tap off the excess, dust off. And I'm going to do that one more time, just making this a little bit wider and a little bit higher up onto the nail. Now I avoided the nail groove area and the cuticle area because that's where I want my color to be. Right now, I just added strength and build right in the center of the nail. Now I can go in and do my French application. So let me get my pink ready, get my white ready. I'm gonna do, what side? We'll just, this is oval, so we'll do oval. And hopefully we can get this accurate. So we're gonna do 3/4 of the nail. We're going to dip into our pink, tap over the white, tap off the excess, dip immediately into our pink, tap off the excess. Now I'm tapping off onto a paper towel or onto my paper towel, not into my container, because I don't want to transfer powder. So have an extra dish or my powder over here so that you're dipping or you're not dusting or tapping off. And there's so much powder pouring out of this finger right now. So I don't want any pink or white to transfer into one another. All right, so now we'll do the entire nail. Including our nail groove area. Dip, tap off the excess, dip into our pink, tap off the excess, and then we'll dust off the excess dust. I'm going to get rid of my powders. Okay, so now we are going to apply our where's my activator? Apply our activator. We're going to wait 20 seconds. And now you don't have to do a French. You could do a color application. It doesn't have to be French, but since we already did a color application, we might as well do a French. That's been about 20 seconds. So we'll take a thin coat of our base coat. We're going to let that dry, and then we'll begin our filing and shaping. I like to use my 180 grit file, especially because we've done so many dips. We did a French application, plus we did the tip application. So we do have some, contouring that we are going to have to do on the tip application. So I do like to use my 180 grit file for that, as opposed to just the buffer. So that is dry, and we can go in. So I like to go in with my 180 grit file and kind of reshape it. When you dip, especially when you're doing a tip application, it does kind of change the shape a little bit. So I just want to make sure that I'm getting my shape back in. Very gentle around the cuticle. It doesn't need that. Pretty much you can probably just do with your buffer. So I'm just being really gentle around that cuticle. And go right into my nail groove. I'm just smoothing this out. Grab my buffer. Get the dust off. And then here's where you can choose. Either do a standard application. So we'll grab our activator, do a final coat of activator, or you can finish with the gel polish option and use the gel top coat. But we're going to wait 20 seconds for the activator to work, and we'll finish with a traditional dip application. And then after that 20 seconds, the most important part is to make sure that you are wiping the nail and getting the excess activator off. Again, it's going to help minimize the gumminess in your brushes. It's going to minimize a cloudy finish. Sometimes if you don't wipe that excess activator off and you go and do your top coat, not only are you getting a gummy brush, but you're also going to end up with a cloudy finish on your enhancement. All right, so really wipe off any excess activator. And then we'll do our 2 coats of top coat. Really thin coat. We're going to wait a couple of seconds so that I can put our second coat. So I'm just going to take a look at this. It looked really wet when you first apply it, and then it should start to kind of look streaky, like as it's starting to dry. Once it starts to look streaky, then we'll go ahead and do our second coat. You don't have to wait. You don't have to keep an eye on that unless you're just doing one, like a nail repair. But by the time you do all 10 fingers, your first finger is ready to go. And we'll do our second coat. Really thin. And let that sit for 5 minutes. And that completes that nail. The remaining nails, since these are fully dry, I can go right in with my nourishing oil. And apply your nourishing oil. And there you have it. We have our standard dip overlay, our pour method overlay. We have our marble design, which is probably my favorite. I love, in my opinion, the dip system gives you the best marbled appearance, marbled look. It's just very organic and natural looking. So if I had to do any marbling, I prefer using the dip to do marbling because it just looks amazing. It's my favorite. And then we have our tip application with our dip and French all in one. And there we have it. We have 4 different dip options for you. I hope you all enjoyed the webinar. Again, for more information on Nail Alliance products to get them into your schools, please contact the account executives at your new school. And then for future webinars, you can always contact myself. Thank you guys again so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.